Of course he's paying. He's always desperate for Mom's approval, SIL declared at my Mill's birthday dinner. I quietly made 3 phone calls. That night was a mess. I've always believed family should be a haven of unconditional acceptance, a place where you belong without question. That was until my sister-in-law Charlotte taught me an entirely different lesson. My name is Alex. At 34, I've built a successful business from nothing. I wasn't born into wealth, didn't have connections or family money. Everything I've achieved came from hard work, persistence, and countless sleepless nights. I'm not one to flaunt my success. Designer labels and luxury cars don't impress me. What matters is security, stability, and providing a good life for those I love. My wife, Gloria, 32, is the quiet force behind my success. Thoughtful and kind, she balances my occasional intensity with her calm presence. We've been married for 5 years now, building our life brick by brick, compromise by compromise. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. Then there's Charlotte, Gloria's older sister. At 37, Charlotte has made it her mission to ensure I never feel like a genuine part of the family. Since the day Gloria and I exchanged vows, Charlotte has viewed me as an unwelcome intruder, someone who took her sister away, someone who doesn't deserve a seat at the family table. The hostility began subtly. For the first 2 years of our marriage, Charlotte deliberately mispronounced my name at every family gathering, not in an obvious way that would make her seem petty, but just wrong enough that I noticed. When corrected, she'd wave it off with a dismissive, "That's what I said," while making eye contact with everyone except me. At family gatherings, my achievements evaporated into thin air. While everyone else's promotions, home renovations, and even new pets received enthusiastic attention, my business milestones were deliberately overlooked. Once, when I secured a contract that doubled my company's revenue, Charlotte smoothly redirected the conversation before anyone could congratulate me. "Speaking of news," she'd interjected, "did anyone hear that Gloria's high school friend Stephanie is expecting twins?" The pattern continued relentlessly. When I couldn't attend her mother Catherine's birthday due to a business emergency, Charlotte seized the opportunity to twist the narrative. I later discovered she'd told Catherine I couldn't be bothered to make time for family events. The truth, that I'd arranged for a spectacular flower delivery and personalized gift in my absence, was conveniently omitted from her version of events. Perhaps Charlotte's most persistent tactic was undermining my career. Despite running a profitable company with 20 employees, Charlotte referred to my work as a little side project, or asked if I was still trying to find stable employment. She did this so effortlessly, with just enough plausible deniability, that confronting her would have made me seem paranoid or hypersensitive. Charlotte's own life was a complicated web of contradictions. 2 years ago, her marriage to Daniel ended after he discovered her affair with a coworker. Yet somehow in her retelling, Daniel became the villain and she the wronged party. Catherine, Gloria's mother, believed this narrative completely. Charlotte had always been the golden child, her mistakes excused, her behavior rationalized. While Charlotte's life appeared glamorous on the surface, reality told a different story. Her designer wardrobe and luxury car created an illusion of success that masked mounting credit card debt. She lived beyond her means while judging others for their financial choices. "You're still driving that old sedan?" she once asked me at a family dinner, raising a perfectly arched eyebrow. "I thought your business was doing well." This from someone who was 3 months behind on her car payments. Charlotte had a particular talent for emotional manipulation, especially with Gloria. Growing up, she had established a dynamic where Gloria's needs always came second. This pattern continued into adulthood, with Charlotte creating emergencies that required Gloria's immediate attention, often pulling her away from our plans or important events. Gloria, conditioned to put her sister first, would rush to Charlotte's aid, only to discover the emergency was something trivial or completely fabricated. When Gloria gradually began setting boundaries, Charlotte's tactics shifted to guilt and emotional blackmail. "After everything I've done for you," she'd say, her voice trembling just enough, "I guess your husband is more important than your own sister." Gloria would return from these conversations drained and conflicted, torn between loyalty to her sister and to our marriage. The tension between Charlotte and me remained largely unaddressed. Gloria, caught in the middle, preferred peace over confrontation. I respected her wishes, swallowing my frustration for her sake. But every relationship has a breaking point, and ours came with Catherine's 65th birthday. As the milestone approached, Charlotte announced she would organize the celebration, but claimed financial constraints prevented her from covering the costs. She suggested everyone contribute to make it special. I saw an opportunity to solve the problem and perhaps improve my standing with the family. "I'll take care of it," I offered during the family meeting. "Catherine deserves something special. I'd be happy to host the party at Blue Water Grill." This upscale restaurant was Catherine's favorite, though she rarely indulged because of the expense. Charlotte's expression flickered between annoyance and calculation. "That's generous," she said finally, "but I've already started planning. I should maintain control of the details." The message was clear. My money was welcome, but my input was not. We settled on an arrangement where I would cover the entire expense, approximately $10,000 for a private dining room, premium menu, and all the trimmings, while Charlotte would handle the planning. It seemed like a reasonable compromise, though I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd somehow played into her hands. The day of the celebration arrived. Gloria and I reached the restaurant early to ensure everything was perfect. The private room looked stunning, with elegant floral arrangements and personalized touches for Catherine. As guests began arriving, I noticed something odd about the seating arrangement. The chart placed Gloria and me at a table far from the family, adjacent to the restrooms. When I questioned this, Charlotte's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, I thought that would be convenient for you since you're not really family," she said, her tone casual as if commenting on the weather. Gloria's face flushed with anger, but I squeezed her hand. "Let's not make a scene," I whispered. "Today is about your mother." Gloria reluctantly agreed, though her tension was palpable throughout the evening. As we took our assigned seats, I caught several confused glances from other family members who clearly expected us at the main table. Midway through the evening, I stepped away to speak with the restaurant manager about the cake presentation. As I approached the kitchen entrance, I overheard Charlotte's voice from around the corner. "Of course Alex is paying for everything," she was saying to someone, laughter in her voice. "He's always trying to buy his way into the family. It's almost sad how desperate he is for Mom's approval." I froze, blood pounding in my ears. Before I could decide whether to confront her, Charlotte continued. "I added the vintage champagne and the seafood tower to the menu. Why not? It's not like he'll notice the extra charges. Just make sure everything gets billed to him directly." My curiosity shifted to concern. I sought out the manager, asking for a preliminary bill to review. What I saw confirmed my suspicions. Charlotte had significantly upgraded virtually every element of the event without consultation. The premium wine selection alone added thousands to the total. Based on the current consumption, the final bill would exceed $22,000, more than double my agreed budget. A quick conversation with the restaurant staff revealed more of Charlotte's scheme. She had explicitly instructed them to bring the final bill directly to me at the end of the night, with a plan to publicly thank me for my generosity in front of everyone. The stage was being set for me to either pay an exorbitant amount or look petty by refusing in front of Catherine and the entire family. For years, I had tolerated Charlotte's behavior for Gloria's sake. I had bitten my tongue, looked the other way, and made excuses. But at that moment, something shifted. My patience, stretched thin over years of disrespect, finally snapped. I stepped away from the celebration, finding a quiet corner in the restaurant lobby. With steady hands, I made 3 quick phone calls. First, to Daniel, Charlotte's ex-husband. While we weren't close, we'd maintained a cordial relationship after their divorce. I knew from Gloria that Daniel had discovered financial improprieties during their separation, something Charlotte had worked hard to keep quiet. "Daniel, it's Alex. I know this is unexpected, but I could use your help tonight. It's about Charlotte." I briefly explained the situation. After a moment's hesitation, he agreed. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, and Alex, I think I should bring some documents you might find interesting." My second call was to my credit card company. I explained that while I had authorized a certain amount for tonight's event, I was concerned about potential unauthorized charges beyond that limit. They placed a temporary freeze on large charges from this specific vendor, requiring verbal confirmation from me before processing. Finally, I spoke with the restaurant manager. I clarified that I would honor my original commitment of $10,000, but any amount beyond that would need to be billed separately to the actual person who had ordered those items, Charlotte. The manager seemed uncomfortable, but agreed when I showed him text messages confirming my original budget. With my contingency plan in place, I returned to the celebration, maintaining a pleasant demeanor as Catherine opened gifts and blew out candles. Charlotte, oblivious to my actions, grew increasingly confident as the night progressed. She moved around the room like a queen holding court, accepting compliments for the lavish event she had organized. As dessert was served, Catherine stood to thank everyone, singling out Charlotte for planning such a magnificent evening. And of course, Catherine added, turning to me with a warm smile, thank you, Alex, for your generosity. This means the world to me. Charlotte raised her glass. To Mom, she announced, and to family coming together for special occasions. Her eyes met mine across the room, a glint of triumph in them. The evening wound down, guests beginning to collect their belongings and say goodbyes. The moment of truth approached as the manager appeared with the leather folder containing the bill. Charlotte immediately gestured toward me. Alex is handling that, she said loudly. He insisted on treating everyone tonight. The manager hesitated, then walked directly to Charlotte. Ms. Harrison, here's the bill as requested. Confusion flickered across her face as she took the folder. There must be some mistake. My brother-in-law is covering the charges tonight. I believe he agreed to cover $10,000 of the event, the manager replied smoothly. The additional charges of $12,430, 7.82, will need to be settled by you, as you personally ordered those items. Charlotte's face drained of color as she stared at the total, $22,437.82. Her head snapped up, eyes locking onto mine with a mixture of shock and rage. There's been a misunderstanding, she said, voice rising. Alex promised to pay for the entire event. Tell him, Gloria. Gloria looked between us, clearly confused. Alex did offer to pay, but... Charlotte, did you add extra things without telling us? Charlotte's hand trembled slightly as she tried to process what was happening. This is ridiculous. This isn't. She fumbled in her purse for her credit card, handing it to the manager with a tight smile. There's obviously some confusion. Just charge this while we sort it out. Minutes later, the manager returned. I'm sorry, Ms. Harrison, but your card has been declined. A hushed silence fell over the remaining guests. Catherine looked bewildered, while Gloria's expression shifted from confusion to dawning comprehension. Alex, surely you can help sort this out, Charlotte said, her tone now placating. For Catherine's sake. Before I could respond, the restaurant doors opened and Daniel walked in. Charlotte froze at the sight of her ex-husband. Perfect timing, I said. Daniel, perhaps you can help clarify something for the family. Daniel nodded grimly, placing a folder on the table. Charlotte, I think it's time everyone understood why our marriage really ended. What followed was the systematic dismantling of Charlotte's carefully constructed image. Daniel calmly explained how he had discovered Charlotte using their joint accounts to fund her lavish lifestyle, maxing out credit cards in his name, and even taking loans against their home without his knowledge. The affair was just the final straw, he explained to the stunned family. The financial deception had been going on for years. He spread out bank statements, credit reports, and legal documents across the table. Among them was a series of text messages Charlotte had sent to a friend, explicitly detailing her plan to make me pay for an extravagant party while taking all the credit. I've got the perfect sucker to foot the bill, she had written. Alex is so desperate for family approval he'll pay whatever I tell him to. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth in shock. Gloria stood frozen, staring at her sister as if seeing her for the first time. Charlotte's composed facade finally cracked. You had no right, she screamed at me, attracting attention from other diners. This is a private family matter. Exactly, I replied calmly. Family matters, and for years you've made it clear I'm not family, so why should family obligations apply to me? The manager, now visibly uncomfortable, suggested we resolve the payment issue immediately. Charlotte tried multiple cards, each declined, growing more agitated with each failed attempt. This is your fault, she hissed at me. You set me up. No, Charlotte, Gloria said quietly. You set yourself up. All Alex did was refuse to be your victim again. The situation escalated when Charlotte refused to surrender her keys to the valet, insisting she would leave without paying. When security was called, she became belligerent, resulting in the police being summoned. What should have been Catherine's elegant birthday celebration ended with Charlotte being escorted from the premises, screaming accusations and threats. I quietly settled the original $10,000 as agreed, leaving Charlotte to face the consequences of her actions. The immediate aftermath was as messy as expected. Catherine was devastated, torn between shock at Charlotte's behavior and concern for her daughter's welfare. Gloria alternated between anger at her sister and guilt over not seeing the pattern sooner. Extended family members chose sides, with many believing I had deliberately humiliated Charlotte. Charlotte herself launched a campaign to salvage her reputation. She called family members with a modified version of events, portraying herself as the victim of my calculated revenge. When that proved insufficient, she escalated to direct harassment, calling my office and sending inflammatory emails to business associates. "You've made a powerful enemy," read one particularly venomous message. "Hope your little company can survive what's coming." But Charlotte had underestimated the consequences of her public meltdown. Video of her confrontation with restaurant security had made its way to social media, caught by another diner's phone. Without context, it showed an entitled woman refusing to pay a bill and berating staff. The clip went viral in local circles, eventually reaching her workplace. Already on thin ice after past incidents, Charlotte was terminated when her employer discovered she had been using the company credit card for personal expenses. The financial cushion she depended on suddenly disappeared, forcing a reckoning with her unsustainable lifestyle. 1 month after the birthday incident, the family landscape had shifted dramatically. Catherine, after initial reluctance, began to acknowledge the pattern of behavior she had enabled in Charlotte. While she continued to support her daughter emotionally, she stopped providing financial bailouts. "I should have set better boundaries years ago," she confided during a quiet dinner at our home. "I thought I was helping, but I was just making it worse." Gloria struggled with conflicted loyalties but ultimately stood firm beside me. When Charlotte demanded she choose between her sister and her husband, Gloria's response was clear. "I choose a healthy relationship over a toxic one. When you're ready to be honest and respectful, we can talk." Charlotte's retaliation grew increasingly desperate. She posted vague accusations on social media, hinting at unethical business practices at my company. She contacted my clients, spreading rumors about financial instability. Each attack only further isolated her from family support as her true nature became impossible to ignore. 6 months later, the consequences of Charlotte's behavior had fully materialized. Unable to maintain her facade of prosperity, she was forced to downsize from her luxury apartment to a modest rental. Her expensive car was repossessed, and designer clothes sold to cover basic expenses. She found new employment, but at a significantly lower salary than before. The most significant change, however, was in family dynamics. Catherine began therapy to address her role in enabling Charlotte's behavior. Gloria established clear boundaries with her sister, refusing to engage during Charlotte's frequent emotional outbursts. Extended family, witnessing the pattern firsthand, no longer served as unwitting allies in Charlotte's manipulations. Through it all, Charlotte remained remarkably resistant to self-reflection. Even as the evidence of her actions mounted, she clung to her narrative of victimhood. In her view, her current circumstances were everyone's fault but her own. A year after Catherine's birthday celebration, we received an email from Charlotte. It contained something approximating an apology, though heavily qualified with justifications and deflections. "While I may have exercised poor judgment," she wrote, "I felt provoked by years of feeling sidelined in my own family after Alex's arrival." The email concluded with a request to reconnect with the family, particularly as Catherine's health had recently given us a scare. For Catherine's sake, we agreed to a tentative reconciliation, though with clear conditions regarding respectful behavior. Our first family dinner with Charlotte present was understandably tense. She arrived subdued, the designer clothes and arrogant demeanor replaced with something more authentic, if reluctant. When Catherine announced that Gloria and I were expecting our first child, Charlotte managed a genuine-seeming congratulation. Later, as Gloria and her mother discussed nursery plans, Charlotte approached me in the kitchen. "I still think you went too far," she said quietly, eyes fixed on the dish she was rinsing. "I think you pushed too far," I countered. "For years." She was silent for a moment. "I never thought you'd actually stand up to me." "That was your mistake," I replied, confusing patience for weakness. Charlotte nodded slowly. "Catherine's really excited about the baby. We all are. I want to be part of my niece or nephew's life," she said, a rare note of vulnerability in her voice. "That depends entirely on you," I told her. "Respect is earned, Charlotte, even in families." I don't know if Charlotte will ever truly change or if our family relationship will ever be completely healthy. What I do know is that sometimes the most valuable lesson is the one you have to pay for yourself. Charlotte's education was expensive, costing her job, reputation, and family trust, but perhaps it was the only way she would ever learn. As for me, I've found an unexpected peace in no longer seeking approval from someone determined to withhold it. True family, I've realized, isn't defined by who shares your last name or sits at your holiday table. It's built on mutual respect, honesty, and the willingness to stand up for yourself and those you love, even when it comes at a considerable price.